Are you thinking about starting a 3D printing business in 2025? Well, let's have a little coffee chat and talk about it. So just real quick, a little bit about me. I have made mistakes in business in the past. I used to have an online toy retail store where I made about $63,000 in revenue my first year. Now, of course, I'm not doing that anymore, but I learned a lot through running that business. That was in my early 20s. I'm 29 now. I did that for about 4 years, I would say, realistically. But again, I learned a ton from running that business. So I want to talk about how I can translate some of that into a 3D printing business. And if I'm gonna do one, right, I'm still trying to think about, should I start this as a side hustle? I'm not really sure. I just enjoy 3D printing and making stuff, so I don't want to take away my passion and my love for that. So let's talk about it. So if you're a hobbyist looking to start a business when it comes to 3D printing, you want to be careful because there is a fine line that you toe between keeping this a hobby and really enjoying it and stressing yourself out trying to make money. Now, when I was running my online toy store, I started stressing myself out because there were items that I wanted to purchase for myself, I wanted to keep, but I bought them for the business, so I need to get rid of them. So sometimes I really struggled internally with, hey, I want to keep this, I don't want to sell this. Now, if you're doing this as just kind of like a side hustle and your primary focus is not to make money, it's just something you enjoy and you're selling stuff on the side, I actually think that's of a benefit to you because you can say, hey, this is a cool project, I'm going to keep this. I guess it's the same for 3D printing. I'm going to keep this, I'm gonna make one for myself and then I can sell another one. That makes sense. Or maybe you print one, you sell it, and now you know how to improve it and you can make another one for yourself and then sell that one, right? You can just make another copy. So one thing you wanna be careful not to take away your passion for the hobby when it comes to 3D printing. If it's a side hustle, totally fine, right? I'm not telling anyone how to run their business, but I think you just wanna toe that line of, hey, keep it your passion, but don't make it so stressful on yourself trying to meet deadlines, trying to do all these things for customers that you lose the passion for, because then that's when it really starts to take a toll on you and you really start to stress out. So my first recommendation would be get to know the people here locally. So for example, I live in a smaller town and I actually just recently saw in a Facebook group where someone was looking for the person who had a 3D printing booth where they were selling 3D printed like little trinkets and stuff like that. Do I know exactly what they were selling? No, I don't. Because I didn't go. It was a local farmer's market. They set up a little booth and it was just a kid trying to make extra money with their 3D printer. That was just a side hobby. So people started seeking them out. They started asking the Facebook group for them. And now, they have a kind of like a chain reaction of sales. Everyone knew who they were. Now, if people don't know who you are, they're not going to seek you out and ask to buy your stuff. So I would definitely recommend getting to know people in your area. Set up that Facebook marketplace, post and just sell locally for now. And then if you want to branch to online, you can. So there is just something with someone physically knowing you, right? So maybe they bought something and now they put it on their desk at work and they're like, hey, where'd you get that? Okay, well, this is the person that I got it from. They give them your phone number. Now you got another order, right? Like you can do made to order stuff even that way. It's just something that I don't think a lot of people do. And they should, get to know the people in your community. Don't limit yourself. That's cash, right? You don't have to pay the eBay fees and all of that stuff that comes with the Etsy fees and, worrying about selling it. You go directly to the person. It's like this chain reaction. They give your number to someone, and another person gives your number to two people, that person, and then you're really known in the area locally as, hey, I can go to this guy. So that kind of led into my next thing is competition, right? If you're not willing to get out there and sell stuff and put your face behind the brand that you're trying to sell and the products that you're trying to sell, like how can you expect people to buy them? So for example, if I'm just selling stuff on Etsy and I say, okay, I'm selling this droid, right? I can take a picture of this droid and really sell it like this. And I'm talking about the Black Series, smaller Super Battle Droid. If someone sees the Super Battle Droid like posted on that catches their eye, right? You need to stand out in your posting. Don't take a picture just of you holding it like this or something. You need to stage your products. So stage it nice. Make it stand out, because if I'm scrolling through Etsy, what's going to make me click on your link, right? If I'm scrolling through Facebook Marketplace, what's going to make me click on your link? Now, don't go out and spend a bajillion dollars on a camera. Any smartphone from like the iPhone 14 on, I have a Samsung Ultra that I actually record this stuff on, is going to take perfectly fine photos. You need to stage it. Set it up in your house. of you actually using it. Sell products that you stand behind so that way you already have them staged. Sell them when you're using them, right? But don't just sell stuff to sell stuff. Sell stuff that you actually can stand behind, that you would put your face behind. That's gonna help you beat the competition. When it comes to competition, does a new restaurant just give up when a new restaurant opens next door? No, they try to make their product better. They give you a reason to come into their store. They give you anything, I don't know, I can't think of, they have sales, they run sales, they try to offer a better product. Maybe they have better customer service. It's just, you need to do these things to make you stand out from the competition. Don't just say, hey, there's a lot of competition. Yeah, there is. But it's just like any other aspect in life. Like, there is competition when it comes to selling stuff. You need to figure out how to sell your product, right? Sales is a skill. You need to become likable. You need to do this. You need to do that, right? Think of ways to market your product that are different. So one thing that I did with my business before is I started sending stuff to people on YouTube, just to get like a free shout out, right? It wasn't necessarily free because I was sending them stuff, but it was just a different form of marketing that not a lot of people were doing at the time. When it comes to this stuff, you got to think outside the box from marketing. So do something that someone's not doing before. Be willing to try it, right? It might not work, but if this is your side hustle, who cares, right? You're going to experiment, try new things, do all this. There's a lot of different routes you can go with facing competition, but you need to stand out. Take good pictures, get to know people locally again. Maybe they were gonna place a 1,000-piece order from this person, but now you met them, you're a little more charismatic, they like you, and now you got the $1,000 or the 1,000-piece sale instead. So that's just my recommendation. Another thing that I would recommend knowing is your margins, right? You definitely need to know how much you're spending on PLA, how much you're spending in electricity, how much was your total printer cost, and what maintenance are you gonna need to do on your printer. These are things that I would say the hobbyist doesn't necessarily have as much of a concern as like the traditional business owner, because if you're going to be printing anyway, like, hey, let's make some money on it. But there are a lot of things that you need to keep in mind. It's like, if you're doing DoorDash, are you taking into consideration the wear and tear on your vehicle? How much you spend in gas, because a lot of that's going to add up over time. It's the same thing. How much is your PLA? You can account that's your gas in this scenario, right? Because electric in the United States, at least, is pretty cheap. As far as the printer, like, is this an expensive printer? Like DoorDash, are you delivering in an Audi? Like, that doesn't make sense. But printers, it's a little different than cars, right? They don't depreciate as much. So I guess that scenario isn't necessarily equivalent. But I hope you understand what I'm saying. You need to know your margins. What are you selling? How much time did it take you to do these things? Now, if you're just setting a print and forgetting it, and you're like, hey, I'm gonna make the difference between PLA, and then maybe it's $20, but it was $2 in PLA. Cool, $18. Again, if you sell it locally, $18, easy peasy, just like that, right? So it's one of those things where you just need to, be aware of what you're spending to make stuff. Don't sell stuff for too cheap, and get yourself too busy as well. You don't want to stress yourself out. Price your stuff right. It's going to take some time to really experiment with that. Maybe it's a form of advertising too, that you sell your stuff for a little bit cheaper and then gradually raise your prices, which I think is okay as well, because when you're trying to make a name for yourself, you want to get out there, you need to get those reviews. Maybe offer something for a little bit cheaper on Etsy just to get those initial reviews and build your page. Once you then have like 5, 10, 15 reviews, people are going to be a little more inclined to go to you. So shipping, this is actually a big expense that I don't think people spend a lot of time with, and I think they should spend way more time getting their shipping down. Now, if you're selling on Etsy, you're selling on eBay, wherever you're selling are, shipping is a huge expense. If I'm a customer, something is $5, I go and the automatic shipping charges me like $10 to $15, I'm not even gonna purchase it. Same thing where if it's a $10 product and you offer free shipping, they're more inclined to purchase it, right? If it's $15, you already got them to click on it. So instead of charging $5 plus $10 shipping, if it's $15, you got them to click on it, they're going to the page, it's free shipping now, it's better. So it just depends. I guess in some customers' mind, it's better. Now you can offer the $5, but if they go and they say, oh, $10 for shipping, they might be more inclined not to purchase it. It just depends. Every customer is different. So, I actually found previously that sometimes the higher shipping price worked for garnering some customers with the lower price. But you also don't want to have too many customers be turned away by your shipping. So you really need to figure out, how can I offer the cheapest shipping possible? Because 1 inch at the post office can make the difference between paying $10 and like $20, $30. It's crazy. Like, you know, going from 17 inches to 18 inches costs a ton of money. And I found that by just playing around in PayPal ShipStation. You know, I went to Walmart, looked at all the box sizes, really configured them, put in different weights, seeing how much they cost. You know, there's a lot of different things you can do to figure out your cost with shipping. And I think you don't need to go out and pay for a label, right? Or pay for boxes, I guess, to figure out every single little thing. You can make it work just by having the information, going on PayPal. Maybe you put like a Walmart address in like Alabama because you're in California, just to see how much it costs. So put in the dimensions, see what it costs. You don't want to be where you're unprepared, where a customer orders like 10 of a product, they only paid $5 for shipping, and now you had to pay $25 for shipping. And it goes the other way, right? You don't want to lose a customer because you're charging them $25 for shipping, but it only costs you $10 to ship. That's, you know, kind of, to me, it's kind of grimy to charge more for shipping, but try to get as close as possible to what it costs, right? Spend some time really honing on your shipping. Maybe you can ship in those padded envelopes and it doesn't cost as much money because it's less than a pound. Everything less than a pound is cheaper to ship. So just keep that in mind. Really try to understand your shipping, make it the cheapest possible for customers, while also not, you know, doing the crazy stuff on the back end where you're having to eat the cost of shipping for a lot. Now, maybe you say, okay, you order $100, I'll figure out shipping. Makes sense, right? But you got to be careful, because what if they order like this huge truckload and now you're paying $1,000 for a pallet? And you know, this is a one-off scenario, but they're paying $1,000 for a pallet because they want to put it in their retail store. You know, you got to be careful when it comes to shipping. You know, I definitely made a ton of those mistakes with my business. So going back to what are you going to sell? I think with 3D printing, it's really hard, right? Because if you're not designing this stuff yourself, it's, you know, you're relying on someone else to make your product. So I wouldn't go signing up for all these different subscriptions, because next thing you know, you're paying $50 to $100 a month and you're only bringing in nothing, right, to start. So that's a lot of money up front. If you're already paying, I would look into some of the Patreons or stuff you're already paying for. See if they offer the commercial license, because that's probably something that you can get behind. So as far as like selling that stuff commercially, maybe it's a little easier for you. You already have it staged in your house. You can sell it really, hopefully easy, make a good picture. You know, maybe the lighting's good, all of that stuff, right? So there's a lot of different things to look at. Again, I wouldn't recommend doing all these subscriptions at once, especially for the hobbyist, you know, unless you're like, hey, this is going to work. Maybe try one at a time, see if you can sell stuff. If it's not working, move on to the next one. Because, you know, if my wife saw I was paying $50 in subscriptions a month, but I wasn't bringing anything in, she'd be like, what are you doing? Like, is this even realistic, right? But again, like, you don't want to add all these extra costs into your business that are not making you any money. So really sit down, think about, is this expense truly warranted for what I'm doing? And you got to remember, if you can pay for this Patreon subscription and sell the license, or not sell the license, sell the products that this person is producing, every single other person in the world can do the same thing. So keep that in mind, right? That's again where it comes down to selling locally, you know, staging your pictures, making them look better than everybody else, maybe being the first one to get something out and really building up those Etsy reviews before anyone else has the chance to do it. You gotta be on top of this stuff. So, or maybe you find like just a random product from like years ago that no one's selling anymore, and boom, it works out for you. But again, everyone can copy you, so you got to stay ahead of the competition. So those are just some of my thoughts as far as what I'm doing, as far as the mindset I'm in to start a 3D printing business. If you listen this far, I appreciate you watching me ramble. I don't know, I just felt like I wanted to talk about this, document it, and so that way I can refer back to this myself if I ever started 3D printing, like, you know, business, and see how my mindset has changed. Document it, right? Do everything. And maybe if you guys would like, I can start a series on actually looking into things, starting my own 3D printing business and giving you like actual stats and sales. Hey, maybe you guys would enjoy that. I can look into doing that, you know, do some more research, use what I've learned in the past, right? You know, start the LLC to actually get this thing rolling. We'll see, right? But I appreciate you guys watching. If you've watched this far, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you liked what you see. Comment down below what else you want to see as far as videos. I do have a few projects coming hopefully within the week that I got to work on this weekend. One of my printers is out of commission. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching and have a good day.